Hello, Kitchen Pals, and welcome back to Miss Abby's Kitchen Class. I hope you're having a good week so far. There are so many sweet treats this time of year. You might be making cookies or having hot chocolate with marshmallow a lot these days. Well, today I'm going to show you how to make another sweet treat. This is another French recipe with a very fancy sounding name, but it's quite simple to make and very delicious. Today we're going to make pot de creme for two. This dessert is similar to pudding or mousse as it starts on the stovetop. It's thicker than both of those desserts and it requires an extra step. We're going to learn a new baking method today called bain-marie, which is a water bath. Once we get our pot de creme assembled and into our baking dish, we'll pour some boiling water around it into that baking dish before we put it into the oven. Maybe you've heard of this baking method before and were a little intimidated by it, but it's really no more intimidating than taking a bath yourself. Pot de creme is a small dessert because it's fairly rich. We'll bake our pot de creme inside small ramekins, which are the pots that we're talking about in the name of this dessert. We'll be making this dessert for two people, but you can always bust out those math skills and double or even triple the recipe if you want to make it for more people in your family. Now that we've been talking about pot de creme for a bit, my mouth is absolutely watering for this dessert. Let's get to the kitchen.
Hey, Kitchen Pals, welcome back to the kitchen. So I've got all my ingredients and my supplies sorted out here for my pot de creme. So I've got my saucepan. I'm going to get my heavy whipping cream going in here in a minute, and a splash of vanilla or a teaspoon if you really need to measure that. I'm going to separate an egg out, and so I'll have that and a little bit of sugar to add to it, along with a secret ingredient. I really like chocolate and orange together, so I'm going to put a little bit of an orange peel in that. And I've got my peeler here for that. I've got a sharp knife here so I can chop up my chocolate. I've got just a little bit more than an ounce of bittersweet chocolate and a little bit of milk chocolate. I'm going to combine that because that's what I had on hand. And then I have a 4-cup measuring cup and then a fine mesh sieve that I'm going to use just to make sure we can get all the lumps out before we work with our pot de creme. So let me get started by measuring out my heavy whipping cream real quick and we'll get that started. Okay, so that's 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream into my saucepan. I'm going to turn my heat on to low. I only need the heavy whipping cream to get to a bubbly place. I don't want to boil it because that'll curdle it, and that's not good. So I just need to warm it up a little bit so that burner is on low. And while that heavy whipping cream is warming up, I'm going to chop up my chocolate and peel that orange. It's starting to warm up a little bit, so I'm going to add my splash of vanilla here. If you wanted to, if you have a grown-up that you're making this with that really likes coffee flavor, or if you're allowed to have some caffeine, then adding maybe a half a teaspoon of instant espresso powder would be really good here. I think another flavor that you could use if you wanted to add to your chocolate would be maybe you have a candy cane that you want to chop up and melt in here would make it a little festive and special as well. Maybe a dash of cinnamon too would make it a little spicier too. So my heavy whipping cream is just starting to bubble. So I'm going to turn that heat off and pour this over my chocolate and orange. And then I'm going to leave it be. So that's just going to sit there and hang out together and melt that chocolate without us having to do any work to it, which is kind of nice. We'll let that do the work for us. My mama taught me to work smarter and not harder, and so that's what we're going to do. I'll set that aside. I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes. And then while that's cooling, I'm going to get the rest of my pot de creme ingredients ready to go. What we want to do next is separate an egg. Have you done this before? Oh, I thought I would also share with you, since we're making a French dessert and we're using 1 egg, here's a joke that I know. Why do the French only eat 1 egg? Because 1 egg is un oeuf, which is French for 1 egg, but it's also a fun language joke. So make sure you tell all your friends that joke. So we're going to separate this egg. We're just going to crack it over the side here and get those egg whites, that clear part of the egg, into one bowl, because all we need for this ingredient is the yolk. So that egg is all separated there. I feel pretty happy that we've got a lot of the egg whites off there. Just a little bit more. Okay, so there's our yolk into one bowl all by itself. I'm going to set this egg white aside. I'll cover it and put it in the fridge and have it with my breakfast tomorrow morning. So to this yolk, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of sugar and then just a little pinch of salt. With my fork here, I'm going to whisk this together. So my sugar, my salt, and my egg yolk all whisked together. Okay. Almost done melting my chocolate here. Okay, my timer's gone off, so I'm gonna stir up my chocolate and my warm, heavy whipping cream and that orange peel. You can see here that that chocolate has really started to melt. And the more we stir it, the darker everything gets as that chocolate incorporates into that warm cream. I'm pretty happy with that. So what we're going to do next then is we're going to add our egg yolk and sugar mixture into this bowl. Now, because everything's kind of warm here, and I don't want to make chocolate scrambled eggs because I don't think that sounds very tasty. So what I want to do is just add a little bit of this chocolate mixture to my egg yolk mixture here, just to kind of temper things a little bit. Do you know this cooking term, tempering? We just want to make sure that things are at the same temperature so that we're not accidentally cooking our eggs a little bit. So I'm going to pour in a little bit of this chocolate mixture, just a little. Stir that in. Okay. And now I'm going to add all of that back into my bowl of chocolate and heavy whipping cream that's all mixed together. Don't forget, I have my orange peels in there too. Those are about to come out. We're not going to cook with those in our recipe. They're just meant to flavor our chocolate. Okay. So we'll keep stirring this a little bit. And now what we need to do before we cook this, we need to cool this down a little bit and we need to strain it. So I've got my 4-cup measuring cup here that's got a nice spout on it, which will come in handy because we'll need to pour our filling into something else. And then I've got a fine mesh sieve here as well, which rests nicely on top of here. So one thing at a time, I'm going to pour just a little bit of this chocolate mixture into my fine mesh sieve here, because I can't pour it all because it'll just overflow and then we've just defeated the whole purpose. So let's work a little bit of that through. That's going through really nicely. Remember, I was talking about not wanting to make chocolate scrambled eggs. This helps assure us that we're not going to get any clumpy things or any of the milk fats that might be too thick and then a little untasty whenever we eat this dessert later. So that's all straining through really nicely. I'm happy with that. And our orange peels came out too, and those are way too big to go through the fine mesh sieve. So that's good too. Okay, so that is all through my fine mesh sieve and it's going to cool for a couple of minutes in my 4-cup measuring cup there that has a nice little spout on it, which will come in handy here in a couple minutes. And for now, what I'm going to do, 2 things that I really love to do. I'm going to preheat my oven to 325 degrees. That'll give it the perfect amount of time to preheat while this is cooling. And then I'm going to use this precious time to destroy the evidence and tidy up my kitchen so that my kitchen's all clean and ready to go after this. Okay, kitchen pals, my oven is preheated to 325. I've got some water boiling because remember, we're going to make our bain-marie, which is our hot water bath. It's going to help our pot de creme bake while it's in the oven. So I'm going to use our 4-cup measuring cup here to evenly pour our pot de creme into these two separate ramekins. Kitchen pals, you've learned so many new terms and phrases on our episode so far today. We tempered chocolate, we made a bain marie, we learned a fun French joke, we learned pot de creme, and now we're gonna get ready to put these little babies in the oven here. As soon as my water boils here, I'm gonna pour that water into my pan here until it's about halfway up that chocolate. And that chocolate's not very deep, honestly, so we don't need a whole lot of that water. We just want to make sure that it's helping keep everything wet and warm while it's baking here. Oh, and one other thing before I put this in the oven, I'm going to put foil over it just to put a nice little covering over it in the oven. So let me get that foil ready, and hopefully by the time I'm back, that water will be boiling. I'm getting a little impatient for that. Okay. Now make sure you keep your dish very level as you're picking it up to put it in the oven, because we don't want that water to slosh around inside here. All right, kitchen pals, my pot de creme is in the oven and I've got my timer set for 25 minutes. And I'm going to do one of my favorite things right now, which is to see how much I can get done in this 25 minutes. I think I'm going to swap out a load of laundry. I'm going to Swiffer my floors in the house. And maybe I'll wrap a holiday present as well. What are you going to get done in 25 minutes? Maybe you've got a little homework to do, or a holiday wish list to put together, or maybe you'll sing a couple of carols or take your dog out for a little walk if you get bundled up. Either way, I'll see you back here in 25 minutes. Hey, kitchen pals. So my pot de creme just came out of the oven. So I'm gonna take this foil off and take a look. Oh, they look beautiful. So I'm gonna use my pot holders and be really careful and get each of these little ramekins out and set it on my cooling rack. Your pot holder is probably gonna get a little bit wet, and that's okay. If your pot holders are like mine, they probably need to go in the laundry anyway. Okay, so I've turned my oven off and I'm just gonna set my pot de creme out on this cooling rack for a while, probably 45 minutes, and then I'm gonna put them in the refrigerator overnight. I'm gonna take these to my boyfriend when I go to see him tomorrow. I happen to know that he really, really likes these, so I thought I'd surprise him with some chocolate and orange flavored pot de creme. So I hope that you make these and like them as well. And I would love it if you would tell me how you maybe flavored yours really specially, or how you made these for your family, and how you learned a fun French word and use this new dessert with your family.
Next week, we're going to make another cookie that's traditional for a winter holiday. It has several different pronunciations and lots of different options for filling. To make this cookie, you'll need a block of cream cheese, 2 sticks of butter, a bit of sugar and salt, some vanilla, 2 cups of flour, 1 large egg, and a splash of milk. You can vary the recipe a bit at this point by adding a bit of brown sugar and cinnamon and some chopped walnuts, or some of your favorite kind of jam or preserves along with raisins, or some Nutella, or another chocolate hazelnut spread that you might like, or some peanut butter even. I love this cookie and I hope you do too. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and have a grown-up email me if you have any questions about this recipe or any of the other recipes that we've made so far. Until next time, enjoy your food, Kitchen Pals.